Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Longing. Today we will once again be continuing to read the Iliad by Homer. So, let's get going. Cneus heard and for a space resigned, to tender pity all his manly can't mind. Then rising in his rage he burns to fight. The Greek awaits him with collected might. As the fell boar on some rough mountain's head, armed with wild terrors and to slaughter bred. When the loud rustics arise and shout from far, attends the tumult and expects the war. O'er his bent back the bristly horrors rise, fires stream in lightning from his sanguine eyes. His foaming tusks both dogs and men engage, but most his hunters rouse his mighty rage. So stood Idomeneus, his javelin shook, and met the Trojan with a lowering look. Antilochus Deipyrus were near the youthful... Antilochus Deipyrus were near, the youthful offspring of the god of war. Merion and Apharius in field renowned, to these the warrior sent his voice around. Fellows in arms, your timely aid unite. Lo, great Cneus rushes to the fight. Sprung from a god and more than mortal bold, he fresh in youth and I in arms grown old. Else should this hand this hour decide the strife, the great dispute of glory or of life. He spoke, and all, as with one soul, obeyed. Their lifted bucklers cast a dreadful shade. Around the chief Cneus too demands the passing forces of his native bands. Paris, Deiphobus, Agenor join, co-aids and captains of the Trojan line. In order follow all the embodied train, like Ida's flocks proceeding o'er the plain. Before his fleecy care, erect and bold, stalks the proud ram, the father of the bold. With joy the swain surveys them, and as he leads to the cool fountains through the well-known meads. So joys Cneus as his native band moves on in rank and stretches o'er the land. Round dread Alcathous now the battle rose. On every side the steely circle grows. Now battered breastplates and hacked helmets ring, and o'er their heads unheeded javelins sing. Above the rest two towering chiefs appear, there great Idomeneus, Cneus here. Like gods of war dispensing fate they stood, and burned to drench the ground with mutual blood. The Trojan weapon whizzed along in air. The Cretan saw, and shunned the brazen spear. Sent from an arm so strong the missive wood struck deep in earth and quivered where it stood. But Oenomus received the Cretan's stroke. The forceful spear his hollow corslet broke. It ripped his belly with a ghastly wound, and rolled the smoking entrails on the ground. Stretched on the plain he sobs away his breath, and furious grasps the bloody dust in death. The victor from his breast the weapon tears, his spoils he could not for the shower of spears. Though now unfit an active war to wage, heavy with cumbrous arms, stiff with cold age, his listless limbs unable for the course, in standing fight he yet maintains his force. Till faint with labour and by foes repelled, his tired slow steps he drags from off the field. Deiphobus beheld him as he passed, and fired with hate a parting javelin cast. The javelin erred, but held its course along, and pierced Ascalaphus the brave and young. The son of Mars fell gasping on the ground, and gnashed the dust all bloody with his wound. Nor knew the furious father of his fall, high-throned amidst the great Olympian hall. On golden clouds the immortal synod sate, detained from bloody war by Jove and fate. Now where in dust the breathless hero lay, for slain Ascalaphus commenced the fray. Deiphobus to seize his helmet flies, and from his temples rends the glittering prize. Valiant as Mars, Meriones drew near, and on his loaded arm discharged his spear. He drops the weight, disabled with the pain. The hollow helmet rings against the plain. Swift as a vulture leaping on his prey, from his torn arm the Grecian rent away the reeking javelin, and rejoined his friends. His wounded brother good Polites tends. Around his waist his pious arm he threw, and from the rage of battle gently drew him his swift coursers on his splendid car, wrapped from the lessening thunder of the war. To Troy they drove him, groaning from the shore, and sprinkling as he passed the sands with gore. Meanwhile fresh slaughter bathes the sanguine ground, heaps fall on heaps, and heaven and earth resound. Bold Aphareus by great Cneus bled, as toward the chief he turned his daring head. He pierced his throat, the bending head depressed, beneath his helmet nods upon his breast. His shield reversed o'er the fallen warrior lies, and everlasting slumber seals his eyes. Antilochus, as Thune turned him round, transpierced his back with a dishonest wound. The hollow vein that to the neck extends, along the chin his eager javelin rends. Supine he falls, and to his social train spreads his imploring arms, but spreads in vain. The exulting victor, leaping where he lay, from his broad shoulders tore the spoils away. His time observed, for closed by foes around, on all sides thick the pearls of arms resound. His shield embossed the ringing storm sustains, but he impervious and untouched remains. Great Neptune's care preserved from hostile rage this youth, the joy of Nestor's glorious age. In arms intrepid with the first he fought, faced every foe and every danger sought. His winged lance, resistless as the wind, obeys each motion of the master's mind. Restless it flies, impatient to be free, and meditates the distant enemy. The son of Asius, Adamas, drew near, and struck his target with the brazen spear. Fierce in his front, but Neptune wards the blow, and blunts the javelin of the eluded foe. In the broad buckler half the weapon stood, splintered on earth flew half the broken wood. Disarmed he mingled in the Trojan crew, but Merion's spear o'ertook him as he flew. Deep in the belly's rim an entrance found, where sharp the pang and mortal is the wound. Bending he fell, and doubled to the ground, lay panting thus an ox in fetters tied, while death's strong pangs distend his labouring side, his bulk enormous on the field displays. His heaving heart beats thick as ebbing life decays. The spear the conqueror from his body drew, and death's dim shadows swarm before his view. Next brave Dipyrus in dust was laid. King Helenus waved high the Thracian blade, and smote his temples with an arm so strong, the helm fell off and rolled amid the throng. There for some luckier Greek it rests a prize, for dark in death the godlike owner lies. Raging with grief great Menelaus burns, and fraught with vengeance to the victor turns, that shook the ponderous lance in act to throw, and this stood adverse with the bended bow. Full on his breast the Trojan arrow fell, but harmless bounded from the plated steel. As on some ample barn's well-hardened floor, the winds collected at each open door. While the broad fan with force is whirled around, like leaps the golden grain, resulting from the ground. So from the steel that guards Atrides' heart, repelled to distant flies the bounding dart. Atrides, watchful of the unwary foe, pierced with his lance the hand that grasped the bow, and nailed it to the yew. The wounded hand trailed the long lance that marked with blood the sand. But good Agenor gently from the wound the spear solicits and the bandage bound. A sling soft wool snatched from a soldier's side, at once the tent and ligature supplied. Blooming heck, this doesn't stop. Behold, Pisander, urged by fate's decree, springs through the ranks to fall and fall by thee. Great Menelaus, to enhance thy fame, high towering in the front, the warrior came. First the sharp lance was by Atrides thrown, the lance far distant by the winds was blown, nor pierced Pisander through Atrides' shield. Pisander's spear fell shivered on the field. Not so discouraged, to the future blind, vain dreams of conquest swell his haughty mind. Dauntless he rushes where the Spartan lord, like lightning brandished his far-beaming sword. His left arm high opposed the shining shield, his right beneath the covered poleaxe held. An olive's cloudy grain the handle made, distinct with studs, and brazen was the blade. This on the helm discharged a noble blow, the plume dropped nodding to the plain below. Shorn from the crest, Atrides waved his steel, deep through his front the weighty falchion fell. The crashing bones before its force gave way, in dust and blood the groaning hero lay. Forced from their ghastly orbs and spouting gore, the clotted eyeballs tumble on the shore. And fierce Atrides spurned him as he bled, tore off his arms, and loud exulting said. And with that, we definitely are coming to the end of the episode, because that was quite a bit longer than I expected. But never mind. I will say thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.